Audio Venture Music. We are here. Haven't been on this channel in quite some time. It's been a while. I hope everybody's okay. Yeah, I haven't. I don't think I've ever done a live. I think maybe a long time ago. I was usually playing live music on here. Haven't been on this channel in a while. I've been kind of doing stuff off of YouTube when it comes to this particular channel more so, and most of it's been on Instagram and through the story. You know. Um, I have my occasional, what do you call it? Hey, what's up, Saint questions? I have my occasional music things that I do on Instagram, or I'll post some music and bands and stories and comment on things about that, or my own experiences when it comes to just my own history in music and people that I know that some people might know of, or even if they didn't, you know. I just love sharing the anything about music that because it's done so much and I've done so much with it in my life. You know, um, it's been really cool, man. I really, and that's why I'm here on this YouTube thing. So yeah, what's up, Saint Questions? How are you doing today? Hope everything is good here on Audio Venture, and I'm also on it TikTok. I've been debating on getting off of it, to be honest, because it's glitchy. It's so glitchy, and you know some of the same woes that I don't dig that's on here and on Instagram. Too much suspect WS and blatant WS, if you know what I mean. Not too fond of that at all. Don't dig it. Don't dig it at all. Who else is this? I just realized that Instagram has been hiding your post from me, your Black Rock history. Yeah, that's me. That's strange. Huh. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah. Instagram is very strange. All these platforms are strange, you know? It's just kind of weird. Even my audio venture, they won't let me do any streams live on there. I want to do a lot of interviews on the audio venture page on there. Like, my Black History of Rock and Roll page, I'm so glad it's thriving the way it is on there. I wish it would thrive on here as much, but I'm not really on YouTube as much. I've debated on even posting lives on that page since I can. But, I want to make sure I have the audience for the artists that I interview, you know? Thanks for the love. Yeah, so that's where that's coming from. But I want my audio venture page to be my Instagram. I have to get 1,000 subscription. I usually don't care about like the quantity of people. I care about the quality of people, like those that really want to be there. And not I don't I'm not one to buy subscriptions. I don't care about that. But I really want to stream on the Audio Venture Instagram page because it's easy for me to get more people. And then I could interview the artists that I want. And I have artists that I know that I've been wanting to interview for a while, but it's just kind of hard when you don't have 1,000 people following you on Instagram. I'm not gonna buy anything for that. So it's almost like they try to hide it. I hope you guys are all well. Like I'm just here Saturday. Saint questions. Who are you? Do I know you in real life? There's some people that are on here that I know in real life, but I'm not sure if you're one of them. Yes, I gotta come up with I have a different emblem than I have on this one. Um, Music stuff I've been kind of like just pondering on talking about with certain subject matters um, when it comes to music and certain artists when it comes to music. I don't really get a chance to do a lot of videos because I'm usually busy, which is why I haven't done much videos on my other ones, my other page as much. I just been doing lives and commenting. Well, I'm glad that you're back. How are you? I don't think we live in the same place. I'm in CA. Did you meet me on here or did you meet me in person? I'm curious. I just want because I'm bad. Some people change their names on this thing. I literally changed my name because of just what what I wanted my platform to be connected with a few other things too. So that's why I don't have the same name that I started this channel with. Yeah. But yeah, Black History of Rock and Roll is thriving. I love what's going on. Mm, had to drink some water. Black History of Rock and Roll is thriving, and I love it. Like it's so cool. I've gotten the chance to interview some really cool artists on there. Like seriously, like I'm so stoked that I've gotten the chance to interview some really cool. It's like I'm mind boggled. I'm like I can't believe I got like some cool interviews on that channel. I posted. I still have a lot more to post on the page on here. I interviewed Elton John's guitarist. That was really cool, man. It's on my Black History of Rock and Roll page on the YouTube and also on Instagram. Check that out if you can. I don't think we met, but I have commented on other channels a few times. Which channels have you commented? And I'm curious what subject matter were they on? Yeah, so this music thing is. But even with like some of the things will cross over. Like you'll see videos probably from Black History of Rock and Roll on this channel as well. And also, I do social commentary when it comes to certain music events or artists that you might have seen on the other channel that I do mostly social commentary on. It just happens to do music. You'll see that over here, and I really try to put more music stuff on this one channel. Sorry, your channel. Oh, I know. I know what you meant, but I'm just curious. I'm curious. Just what have you commented on? Was it on the Yeah. As far as like which channel and what you commented on, there's only three that I will go live on, just so I could remember. Yes, I'm glad that you joined this live. It's I don't have a lot of subscribers, and I know why. I know, there's. I'll just say it's been kind of contentious of me being on here, especially with my other channel. And shouts to those that have supported me, especially people like Lisa Cabrera who helped me get my other channel back on. Um, it's really cool. Yeah. Speaking of music, there's it's some interesting things that I wanted to talk about. One being Andre 3000 and his direction. A lot of people had a problem with just him not doing any rap music anymore. I'm a fan of rap music and hip hop. I'm a part a part of that culture. You know, just as much as I'm a part of that rock and roll culture as well. Um, I just feel as an artist, you know, he's an artist. He should be able to do whatever he wants. Yes, he's an amazing like rapper and everything. Has you know, not just with Outkast, but his own stuff. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. And just a phenomenal artist. But if an artist wants to do something else, that's still valid. You know, it's harder on black artists because just we've been put in such a niche to the point where we're not allowed to experiment. We're not allowed to do with cats like and I'm a Bowie fan saying this, so I'm not dissing him. cats like David Bowie, or Bob Dylan, like where they could do something totally different and it'll still be them, you know, and they won't get flack for it. For me, it kind of, it's fine. It kind of goes back to the way things were marketed, even when it came to rock and roll. It's just kind of, the black artists have to stay in their niche, in their quote unquote place. And, unfortunately, with white artists, they could pretty much do anything in a lot of ways. And even if they didn't do it before, it was like, okay, it's marketable because they're now in that round. I don't even want to say round, that arena, you know, like Eminem. Eminem, of course, he's a hip hop artist, you know. But some people back in the day would say, oh, the marketing thing would not be um, too harsh on them as it has been with a Lenny Kravitz. So like looking at Andre 3000 and what he's been doing, I'm happy for him. Also, me being an experimental musician myself, I think it's really cool. You know, I think it's valid. And to me, as a person being into like a lot of the experimental stuff as well as hip hop, it's valid and it goes right along with just him being an artist and doing something different. As an artist myself, I can't just do one type of music. And some of you guys may have heard my music, maybe you haven't. And even the stuff that you haven't heard everything that I've done or can do. I myself, I don't really hold to a genre of music like that, and maybe that's why it's been such a struggle to some degree. But I don't, I have to be me, no matter what. Not sure honestly, but nevertheless, where I could find your work. Yeah, most of my work. I mean, it's online, but it's not. Most of the stuff that I've done has been with other bands. You know, um, I'm working on getting a lot of stuff out now. I have a long record of working with so many different bands and artists as a musician, session musician, and touring, and playing live. So it's a long list. That's why I'm saying, like, people might know me for certain things. It depends on what you're into as far as like genres of music that I might be associated with, but they don't know me as an arranger, composer, and songwriter, which I am also. I don't just play the one instrument people associate me with. Yeah, it's a trip. But getting back to Andre 3000, sorry, I didn't have a problem with the project at all. To me, it was right up my alley. I'm glad he's experimenting. Drinking water some more. Water is good. An artist needs to do that. And one thing that trips me out, I have to bring this up, you know. Um I remember back in the 80s, I mean actually in the 90s when Metallica changed. And as a young dude into thrash metal and all that stuff, I didn't like the Black Album when it first came out. I was very disappointed. It was like pop to people like myself and fans that were fans of their older stuff, which was more in that vein of thrash metal. A lot of us at that time, myself, I was listening to freaking death metal at some point and grindcore, like when that album came out. And so I wasn't even trying to hear the Black Album. I thought it was pretty much pop at that point. But as an adult and getting older and then having kids wanting to learn that stuff that I wasn't really into, I was like, you know what, dude? I get it. Because like, trying to teach kids, and they want to learn certain things that you might not be into, and you want them to be accustomed to playing, and just you want them to get into it. So I had to bite the bullet and not like be such a music snob or some music purist. Being a music teacher for especially youth, like pretty much opened my mind up more than it was when it came to stuff like that, you know? And I'm glad because like I do appreciate that even though it's not my Metallica version, I could now say that, hey, you know what, dude? I listening and learning those songs to teach gave me a new perspective I'm like, yeah, this is a very I could understand why that album was popular. It's very clever songwriting and it still has a power for those that are not into that kind of music. It's almost like a gateway, it's still heavy and all that. Do I know Stray Kids? No, I don't know them. What are they? What's up, Angie or Angela? Who are the Stray Kids? Are they a punk band or so yeah, I guess tying Metallica to Andre, a lot of us were not happy that Metallica did what they did. But you know what? An artist has to grow. They have to grow no matter what. And so I get it. No, I don't. I don't know who they are. Um, I don't really listen to much K-pop, even though I know what much K-pop was influenced by. That I'm glad to finally hear, especially like a lot of people in the music. Yeah, I'm glad to finally hear that there's music content creators talking about where a lot of the influence from K-pop comes from these days, because those brothers never, the foundational Black American brothers and sisters never get like props for that. Yeah, I've never heard of them. Most of the stuff I listen to is very experimental and kind of cutting edge. You should listen to them if you want. They're really good. I'll keep that in mind. Some of these kids, they're on the K-pop Demon Hunter and all that, so that's something to check out. It's said that artists are not allowed to change much after they get known for a certain style, like you said. Yeah, a lot of it is just marketing too. They want to, some of the from what I've heard, allegedly, some of the guys that are marketing, they're not the hippest people, so they just want to just market what they think works. You know, I've talked to cats like a woman that I actually interviewed even told me this when she worked for a record company, that it's like she's all, yeah, they don't really know, and they're not as hip, like they just kind of want something to make them money. And it's like, she had to actually hit them the stuff, that they didn't know about. Yeah, it's a trip, and it's the same. I'm glad Andre did what he did. He didn't have to do what he did. Outcast and him, I mean, he's on top of the world. But you know what? I'm so glad that he did what he did, man. Because the thing is, dude, if you're an artist, you have to, you want to have room to experiment. And to be honest, I think that's why even artists like Mos Def, and even Lauryn Hill kind of did what they did, and just some of the things that they were going through. I can't speak for them, but that's what I'm observing. I like the fact that David Bowie didn't let what the industry, want. I mean, he kind of was like a key songwriter for a lot of people though too, and it's just people like him. It's like, I mean, I've always admired him because he not only changed his look, he changed, his music with that look. And the funny thing, I don't know if Bowie came out today, I don't know if he would be allowed to get away with a lot of the stuff that he did in the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s. Have you heard of a lady named Pamela 27? She's a black experimental music. You know who I think you're referring to? And she's training. You're referring to Pamela Z. Yeah, I know who she is. I don't. I don't. I'm sure you're referring to Pamela Z. I don't recall her being called Pamela 27, because everything that you described sounds like her. As a matter of fact, I actually put her on my Audioventure page when for Black History Month. I I put a post about her, and I've I would love to collaborate with her. I like her a lot. Yeah, that's that. Oh, okay. Man, I don't have my glasses on. Oh, the question mark looks like a 27. Man, I need glasses. Yes, I've definitely heard of Pamela Z. I love Pamela Z stuff. She's amazing. She does a lot of really cool stuff, man. Definitely avant-garde. Works with like you said, her voice. She does a lot of stuff with her voice, man. You know, yeah, I like her a lot. Um, who was she collaborating with? That yeah, I like Pamela Z a lot. Sorry about that. My eye, man, I need glasses. you know, but that's the thing I like about the underground. You can't control us. You can't if you can't market us, we don't care. Even though, of course, yes, we wouldn't mind having money and being paid a certain thing, but being an eclectic experimental musician as I am, I do wish that I had the money to back me to record whenever I want to, but I just don't, I don't have that. I mean, I'm not saying that I can't. One of these days it will happen. Um, but the thing about us and people like that are kind of on the same wave, we we don't really trip on like, oh, can we be marketed? We're just like, okay, whoever digs us, I'm speaking definitely from myself and from what I gather, certain artists that I know that are in the same thing. It's like, hey, you know what? We're gonna play how we want to play. We're gonna do what we're gonna do and rock that madness no matter what it is and whatever comes out, in spite of anybody saying that we should play anywhere, anything, or just be this this automaton band just because, you know. I guess you can say free spirit. So that's what I look at Andre as, like I'm glad that he did what he did. I'm glad that he's doing and if he never raps again, I'm not tripping because it's what he wants to do, you know? I've heard people they want him to, and I get it. I understand because he's such a phenomenal rapper, but let the brother experiment in other ways. I think people need to hear more things that that interest him, you know? You want brothers and sisters to have a big audience no matter what. Uh, and you don't have to pander to do that if you're true to yourself, you know. And that's why I like this audio venture because I celebrate experiment, especially I celebrate all kinds of music on this particular thing, but especially experimental music because I feel music was an experiment to begin with. We started off with it just experimenting, hitting things around us or whatnot, or listening or doing things with our voice. I'll have to check out his stuff since yeah, everyone's kind of not too happy about the flute album as people are calling it, but you know what? Check it out. If you're an experimental musician or I mean experimental music fan, whether you're a musician or not, I think you might dig it. And even if you don't dig it, it's just cool to know that he's he's open to do stuff that people don't think that he should be doing. And that's as an artist, I'm cool with that. I'm rocking with that. Yeah, man. Trying to make ways to make this channel more clever. I don't get out the shows as much, so I don't have any recorded. I think the last show that got recorded on here was the Secret Chiefs one that I went to. Shouts to Trey Spruance. If you guys don't know who Trey Spruance is, I mean he formed Secret Chief, but he was also in Faith No More and also Mr. Bungle. Really nice guy, man. Really cool cat. I'm glad that I've met him and I've talked to him on a few occasions myself. And an amazing musician. Yeah, this is cool. I'm glad that you guys came to join me on this. You know. Shoot. Anyone have any questions for me? I have some other things that I thought about bringing up music wise too. You know, that kind of has been on my mind when it comes to certain things. Drinking water. Ah man, gotta love the water. Well, what have we been listening to lately? Man, all you're gonna laugh at this. I listen to like all the stuff that I grew up listening to, unless somebody hits me to some new bands or I stumble up on some stuff. Pretty much everything. Like, I mean, I love like a lot of 60s and 70s music. That's the base, and that could be anything, especially within rock and roll. That was one of the most eclectic decades for rock, pop, and R&B music. You know, so many things split off from everything for that. And I still listen to like a lot of early 70s progressive rock, late 60s psychedelic rock, soul, R&B, and funk. um a lot of like early 70s heavy metal stuff. Now they're calling it proto metal, hard rock heavy metal stuff like the James Gang, Black Sabbath, and other obscure bands like Night Sun. Listen to punk rock stuff from no matter where it came from, UK, um America. Doesn't matter. If I dig it, I dig it. A lot of grindcore stuff. Um a lot of what people call power violence, hardcore punk. I mean, shoot, all that stuff was really hardcore punk, really, if you really want to make it simple. Um, and yeah, I'm into everything, man. Jazz fusion, like hip hop, everything. So that's pretty much what I've been listening to is all that stuff, like still to this day, set in my ways. Especially I love a lot of progressive rock, but like more of the tricky, crazier sounding stuff, you know. Yeah. What about you? What are you listening to these days? Huh. Yeah, I digs. I digs. I thought about talking about somebody else, but I didn't want to bring the mood down talking about this clown. Ugh. If you want me to bring him up, I'll bring him up. But then if not, I'll just save it for a video or like the next time. I just don't dig cats But no, talking about music in general is fun. I dig it. Hmm. So yeah, man, what are you into? What are you listening to? Same questions. I dig that name, man. Where'd you get that name from? Broad, but I'll take it. I've been listening to and getting back to into goth. I forgot. Yeah, I listen to that too, but mostly post punk. That post punk side of it. Into goth, rock, post punk. Yes, I'm into all that stuff too. There's been a lot of bands that didn't get much of my attention over the last decade. Yeah, man. Which bands? it's funny. They're yeah, I love post punk, man. I dig a lot of that stuff. I mean, bands like Magazine, the pop group, Bauhaus, um, and then there's bands like from my area, like Akubi Object that I really liked, you know. Um, and Wailing Wall was a group that I liked from my area back in the day. I knew a few, pretty much the whole band. But yeah, I like a lot of post punk. You know. I interviewed a guy who was the first drummer of that band, The Cult. Well, they were called Death Cult when he was in the band. I'm sure you're familiar with them. But I interviewed him on my Black History of Rock and Roll channel, Raymondo. It's like probably the highest video that I have count wise. And I'm just getting into collecting records. That's awesome. So I find just stuff that I find. That's cool, man. No, nothing's wrong with that. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yes. Man, Detroit had the best of rock and soul, man. Like that city was rocking that madness back in the day, man. On one side you had Motown, then on the other side you had freaking like MC5 and the Stooges and Funkadelic, like the best of funk and rock. It's pretty cool, man. Yeah, man. I dig all that stuff. Some of my music is influenced by like a lot of that gothy post punk stuff too. Oh yeah, that's right, Derek May. Shoot. Yep. Brother started techno, man. It's a trip. And that was all a part of the sort of, I guess you can say, post punk adjacent new wave. And even like, I don't like to use the term proto because I just have a problem with that. But I'm gonna use it proto hip hop stuff or proto what people are calling hip hop now, because a lot of people were rapping over that stuff back in the day, the electro stuff. In LA it was electro, in Detroit they did it their own way, which was like freaking techno became techno. And I think Chicago had house. If I could remember with Frankie Knuckles, you know, heavy. Yeah, I like to connect stuff like that over like on this channel too. Just so people for me growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I kind of seen certain progressions. I didn't, like I couldn't tell you that I was a part of anything like I was in that garage scene or whatever, that house or whatever. But I remember what things sounded like back then when I was a kid, and just how things were. I remember a lot of stuff from when I was a kid and how certain sounds were there, and it's just cool to go back and hear a lot of the things that were underground, but still kind of a part of that wave, that wave of music. Things were really futuristic back then. They were really into futurism, so all that stuff came out. Yep, Frankie Knuckles. Crazy, man. I always like the people will say, well, disco didn't die, it just became techno or house music. Yeah, it became techno. It's so funny. Like disco didn't die, the DJs just it like kind of like came out of a phoenix and became, house music. And even I think it even had an influence on techno too, especially the Donna Summer stuff. But then that Donna Summer stuff, influenced a lot of those synth wave or synth pop groups, which, yeah, I think techno has a lot to do with that as well. It's crazy. Like, I mean, had some of those influence, but it's definitely a a foundational Black American like innovation for sure, though. Yeah. Something that's getting more attention is post-punk from Mexico and South America. Disco is also influenced and yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Yep, it did. Disco influenced a lot more than people would like to think. I mean, you could hear it in a lot of post-punk and well, for me, new wave, I guess that was the earlier version of what people would call post-punk. Terms like that are funny, like because all of it was really punk rock, really, and then the industry got a hold of it and tried to make it sound nice by calling it new wave. As some of my, I've had an older punk tell me that too. But then, like, all the experimental stuff, they cats started relabeling art punk, and then later on post punk, you know, and the whole no wave thing was a part of that too. And no wave was actually regional. That was more like New York. That was a New York thing. Cats were doing experimental music, as a part of punk all over the place. And in the UK it was called post punk. In New York it was called um oh my gosh, no wave. But then there's groups out here that like the Screamers and like the Deadbeats and Monitor, like those are different bands. Now people are probably trying to call them either post punk or no wave or art punk, but it was all punk rock back then, dude. Like all that stuff was punk. It was just, you know, I think punk really accentuated like anything that it touched, like it brought back the mod resurgence, but with a punk influence. It brought back like, the whole reggae and ska thing, even though it never really went away, but it brought it back like um when it came to the whole skinhead thing and made it was definitely more punkier. And the same thing with a lot of these avant-garde Dadaist types, these post beats types, like they they definitely like were experimenting and punk gave like they used punk as an excuse to even, go really in on that. It's a trip. Yeah, I'm such a music nerd. I could talk about this stuff all day, but it's cool to know, especially places like South America and Mexico, that bands like that are rocking. I mean, of course, there've been punk bands over there for a long time, but just the resurgence of that, and same with Japan, like they've had post-punk groups as well. Yeah, back then people were definitely more experimental in style. Not to say that people aren't now, but there was more of a demand of your own voice. Yeah, and it was very edgy because it was so different. I mean, heck, in the 70s and even in the 80s, I mean, a lot of the music, that was popular then, especially in the late 70s was weird. Well, late 70s and early 80s was strange for rock and roll because there's this whole it wasn't just these big, rock bands like Boston. There was also these adult oriented rock bands too that is just like, okay, rock has become sophisticated now. It's like yuppie rock, like, or people are calling it yacht rock now. And I'll admit, I like some of that. So I like Christopher Cross, but I wasn't a fan of like, Air Supply or anything like that. But to have something like, and those bands were really underground, like some of the bands that I mentioned. I mean, it was just like too much for some people. It was okay. It was one thing where you had the three chords, but it's another thing where someone's just using an electronic object or like a synthesizer and doing some very odd things with it, and just crazy stuff, even stuff that you probably hear in some underground classical stuff. That they're doing things like that, but in an amateur way. That's the other thing. It was amateur. It wasn't sophisticated like a lot of these big studio rock bands, you know, and they just did what they did, and it was their own voice. The underground, they cultivated that. I don't even, you know, like the underground, I guess you can say demanded it, but at the same time, I don't even want to say that because it just kind of was so spontaneous back then. Very spontaneous. It was so spontaneous, people didn't know what to do with it. Like the main public. I mean, freaking punks went through a lot of stuff back then. I mean, I went through stuff as a punk rocker myself, but not as much as the older punks. I got into punk rock, especially hardcore. I got into new wave in the early 80s, but a lot of the punk rock, the raw and hardcore stuff, I got into like in the late 80s and early 90s. And we still had it crazy stuff, but like cuz it's we still look like freaks, but those punks in the 70s, man, 70s, especially early 80s, I think they went through all kinds because they looked completely different. Things seem normal now. Those punks looked really different. It was like futurism. I remember how my mom was a beautician. She had hairstyle books and all that, and I thought it was the coolest thing to see before I even started, looking, I guess, punk. I thought it was just cool to see that those styles, among people, and then watching videos on Video One, like, oh, cool. So yeah, man, it's a trip. Yeah, long as cats keep it going, that's the rad thing. That's so cool. Man. Well, I'm glad you're digging the stuff that you're digging, man. And I definitely gotta come on here and rock some madness again, you know. But I like a lot of that post-punk stuff. I gotta I gotta really get work on my stuff. Hopefully you dig the stuff that I do. Some of it's influenced by that, but it's all over the place. I have a few different projects. One of them actually is 30 years this month. Who are some people that I would like to interview now? Um, some of them I plan on in the future interviewing on my Black History of Rock and Roll place. On my Black History of Rock and Roll page, um, Forbes Graham, who was in KO Dot. Um, I'm trying to put something in the works to interview him. Russ from the metalcore band Zao or Zao. Who else? I'm gonna try to get Sicky Spacek to interview him. Sicky from Black Death. Um, who else? There's a band called Frisia that was around in the 90s in Long Beach in the LA area. I want to interview one of those members. I want to interview a lot of people, and for the Audio Venture page, I want to interview. Um, Me and Jim have talked back and forth for years of doing it. I want to interview um, Jim from the Stickmen, and he's done a lot of other work. They're a Philly no wave punk band. I want to also interview. Shoot, what's his name? Jim Scafish would be cool to interview. Um, Steve from or Yagaris from Zolar X. There's a lot of people that I want to interview, man. You know, there's a long list, but I plan on interviewing a few people this month. Check in with my Black History of Rock and Roll page on Instagram and also follow my Audio Venture and Black History of Rock and Roll pages on Instagram, especially because that's where you'll see the interviews first, at least for the Black History of Rock and Roll one. I don't have 1,000 subscribers for the Audio Venture one yet, but hopefully that'll change soon. So for all of you guys that want to hear the interviews, go to my Black History of Rock and Roll page and check those out. There's a bunch of them, and I've interviewed some really, really rad people, man. They have very great histories. Yeah, I've been called that. I know how you feel. I definitely know how you feel. Keep being you though. Keep rocking that madness. And it's and don't how could I say this? Don't hold it against your people. That's how I'm gonna say it. you know. There's a lot of things that I learned, and I had that balance that my parents kind of kept me in that balance to where I didn't hate myself or hate anyone, of our people that did that. I just used what I was as a tool of education when I got older. um I'd be called Oreos, but at the same time it's a trip. On the other side of that, certain people felt comfortable with telling would feel comfortable making certain comments because I was dressed like them. And you see that other side, it's like, nah, we ain't the same, bro. Like I'm still black at the end of the day. Or like cats just, it's a trip, man. I'm not that token black dude. I will tell cats, like, if they're saying greasy stuff about black people or even joking, I'm not one of those dudes to kind of laugh at that stuff. I'll call them out on that. I don't dig that. So I understand how the weird stuff goes on from both sides of the fence. Man, thanks for being sub to both, man. I appreciate that. That's the thing. For me, I'll say this: the late '60s, early '70s made me look back on what came before it, because that was such an eclectic time. It gave me an appreciation for all the musics that came before it that influenced it. You know, rock, jazz, blues, classical, all of it. Like it's just and the way that it was conjugated. And so that's why I do what I do, and especially when it comes to our people in our lineage, I feel that it's really important to emphasize where a lot of that stuff comes from, and how none of the music that you have today would exist without our innovations when it comes to this music. Who, if you don't mind me asking, who are you on both channels? Because I don't think I seen a Saint Questions. What's your name on either channel? I wonder if I've come across you. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Heck, yeah, I enjoy all the interviews that I've had, and I'm looking forward to doing some more. I think I have a heavy metal thing going on this month, but we'll see. So I'm gonna cut out right now, though, and I appreciate you even rocking madness with us. Be safe, all right, brother or sister? I don't know. Audio Venture.